Tim Walz is being investigated 10 ways from Sunday right now by the Trump administration, by the Department of Justice, by the Department of Labor for the fraud, the rampant, unbelievable fraud and corruption that's been happening in the state of Minnesota. $8 billion stolen out of the pockets of Minnesota taxpayers. And what does he do? He doesn't go, I'm sorry, I screwed this up. I let my politics get in the way and I let these people get away with absolute theft. No, instead, what does he do? He decides to hold a press conference on gun control. We need gun control and we need it real fast because this is a pressing issue. This is a public health crisis. We all know what Tim Walz's press conference today was about. He was a total cover your ass situation. He's trying to whip up support from his base, and it is so selfish. If you're the kind of person who tends to care about this kind of thing, maybe you're one of those moms who's like, hey, I want my babies protected. To watch Tim Walz use actual crimes that are being committed to press his own personal agenda of self-protection. It's all about November 2026 and making sure that he himself gets back into office. It's all the man cares about. So we watched the entire thing, Minnesota gun rights, and we have some feedback for you. We have just a few clips I want to play for you, and we're going to break down. He did 2 executive orders today, and we're going to break down what those EOs were and what they would do. But mostly we want to talk about the language that he used and the situation that he is trying to put us all in. All right. So I'm just going to jump right in. I'm going to play a clip for you and we'll respond.
There's too damn many guns and the wrong types of guns on the street. And I don't want to hear, how do you define assault weapon? I damn sure can assign what it is and describe what it is and tell you what it does. And unfortunately, we have a whole bunch of parents now who know a lot more about what these weapons were meant to do. Not meant to shoot deer. They're not meant to plink whoever a Republican senator said he likes to plink, and how dare we take away his plinking. They're meant to kill large numbers of people as quickly as possible and with as much damage as they can.
It's amazing to listen to this because he doesn't show any of this outrage at the absolute corruption that's happening in the state of Minnesota, right? If you're a Somalian, you can do literally whatever you want to do. And Tim Walz will stand up there and tell you, you're welcome here. We love you here. You're welcome to all of our money. You're welcome to all of our resources. Yes, 90% of you are sucking off the teat of the taxpayers, but you're a valued member of society. Yes, you're driving home prices down, and we have a housing affordability issue in our state, and people are fleeing the areas that these people live in because of the crime and the corruption they bring. But you know what? You're welcome here, and we love you. You're our neighbors. You're our friends and our neighbors, as he likes to say. But if you're a gun owner, you get this.
There's too damn many guns and the wrong types of guns on the street. And I don't want to hear, how do you define assault weapon? I damn sure can assign what it is and describe what it is and tell you what it does.
Really? You couldn't load a shotgun when you were running for vice president? I don't know about you guys, but I assume that if you're watching this video, not one of your guns is on the street. My guns aren't on the street. Most of mine are hanging behind me. That's where my guns are. So if you've got a crime in the streets problem, Tim Walz, deal with your voting block. Deal with the people who are causing the crime. Allow the prosecutors to put these people in prison. But you won't do that because these are the people that you don't want to make mad. You know that gun owners barely vote for you, and only some of the old Hunter Boomer types who actually drink your Kool-Aid, but 95% of gun owners don't fall for your stick. They don't fall for your stick. And so you think it's perfectly fine to cuss out law-abiding Minnesotans, people who actually, I don't know, pay the taxes that you allowed to be stolen by these foreigners in our state. We pay our taxes. Our guns are kept in a safe place and only used to protect ourselves and our families. But one thing I totally agree with Tim Walz on is I believe it was Senator Jeff Howe during the gun control hearings in the Senate just a few months ago. I believe it was Jeff Howe. If I got it wrong, we'll put the actual name on top and I'll remind you who it was, but I'm pretty sure it was Senator Jeff Howe. He gets up there and he goes, I like my AR-15s. I like going out and doing some plinking. Yeah, I like plinking out on my range. It's my plinking rifle. You should go out and use your plinking rifle. Come on out to my range sometime and you can see how I like to do some plinking. It's like, buddy, how stupid can you be? We do not possess AR-15s simply for the nature of plinking. AR-15s are a symbol of freedom. AR-15s are what we Minnesotans and we Americans have to suppress invasions from foreign countries. It's what we use to repel tyrants should they try to oppress the American people. Certainly, we use it for hunting and we use them for self-defense. These are what firearms are for. But the reason we have them is to protect our loved ones from tyrants, thugs, invaders, etc. It ain't about plinking. So I agree. And if you were a smarter politician, Jeff Howe, you wouldn't set yourself up for that kind of ridiculous statement where, of course, if I was Tim Walz, I would do the same thing. If I was trying to dance on the blood of the innocent dead in order to pass gun control to bolster my own political agenda, I would do the exact same thing that Tim Walz did. And I would mock the Republican senator who said that his AR-15 is for plinking. Well, that guy doesn't speak for us, and that is not the reason we have AR-15. So, but it's always Tim Walz being angry. He's always cussing out. He's always chewing out the people of Minnesota. Like, I'm your daddy and you're my children, and I'm going to cuss you out and make sure you know what a bad person you are. And then people like the Somalians steal $8 billion and he goes, these are our friends and neighbors. How dare you say anything about our wonderful friends and neighbors? Let's watch the second clip.
We can do much more. So this first executive order 2512 expands the outreach, expands the education, expands the ability to get folks who know and can ask for an extreme risk protection order, get those things in place. Something that we were not able to get through the 2023.
So this first executive order, EO 2512, it sounds like, and we haven't read the actual executive order. So we're going to do that. We'll get back to you on exactly what he's talking about. But it sounds like he's expanding information on how people can call in their friends and family and have their guns confiscated. So it sounds like an educational program, quote unquote. But we're going to read that a little bit closer. But sounds like he wants to just make sure that everybody knows that, hey, if you don't like your neighbor, you can always call them in and say that, you know, they own guns and they might be dangerous. So he wants to boost those red flag numbers because he thinks, again, it helps his political career. Now, here's the second part.
Which nearly stuns me in its simplicity, its need, and the recklessness if you are not doing this around safe storage of firearms so children and others can't get into these in homes. Every month or so, we see one of these where we have an accidental firearm. That is not an accident. That is negligence by not locking that firearm correctly and not having proper storage around it. We will continue to educate on that. We will continue to get it out. And I would certainly encourage the legislature to move on this, to make that the case, because I can tell you myself and every other responsible gun owners have trigger locks on those things and have them put away. It's that simple, and that needs to be.
Well, I'll just say again, like maybe Tim, since the way we handle this is actually through education, right? You want to pass a law, a one size fits all law, saying that every single Minnesotan has to lock their guns up, whether they like it or not. And we actually do deal with these things via education, right? I've got 4 boys. They're under 10 years old. Do you know how many times my 4 boys have misused a firearm, have played with one, have carried one out of the room, have shot one off accidentally, have pointed it in the wrong direction? Do you want to know how many times there has been a mishap of even the smallest size and scale? Zero times in almost 10 years for the entire life of my 4 boys. Okay. So I educate my children on the safe use of firearms, and then they don't do stupid things with firearms. You see how that works? So actually, I'm the father. When you think about it, Tim, I'm the dad, right? And my wife, she's the mom, you see? And those are our children. And so we decide how we take care of our children. We don't need you. We don't need the government. We don't need some septum-pierced ogre at the state capitol trying to tell us how to raise our children and how to manage our firearms. I promise you that I personally know, and my children, who are still just children, know more about the safe use of firearms than 99% of the Democrats in St. Paul who are going to vote for gun control. Okay. So we don't need your advice. And you can scream about negligence and you can shout about whatever you want to, but we don't have to listen to you. We are responsible gun owners. In fact, we are the most responsible people in the state of Minnesota. We are the best people in the state of Minnesota, our members and supporters. So we'll make the decision. If you would like to encourage people to safely handle firearms, that would be fine. You may do so. We'll allow it. But when you try to pass a law that forces gun owners, every single person in the state, to lock their guns in a safe that you approve of, in a place that you approve of, and take away our ability to protect our families, you're going to get a great big fuck off from us. All right, next round.
And the next one is one where Minnesota is going to take a lead on 2513. Since 1996 and the Dickey Amendment, it basically froze this nation's ability to do research around gun violence so that people could hold up their hand and say, I don't know, it seems like we have a lot more. No, we just don't have a lot more. We are the murder gun capital of the planet because people have made the decision to protect gun manufacturers and those who don't want to take responsible action. So 2513 will lay the groundwork that will require insurance companies to provide us the data on the cost of gun violence and guns in this state. And we are going to use that data to do the research the federal government is too cowardice to do, to understand that this is a public health crisis.
Cowardly.
That could be attacked like any other public health crisis if we simply had the courage.
So first of all, we completely agree with Tim Walz's wife that he can be a knucklehead at times. We completely agree with that. So what he's doing here is now he's threatening insurance companies to give him data on the cost of gun violence in the state of Minnesota. So we have a couple of questions about this. The first is, Tim, would you include all of your foreign voters who burned Lake Street in Minneapolis during the George Floyd riots? Would you consider that gun violence? Are you going to chalk all of that up to guns? Because there were certainly guns involved in your voting block, burning down the 3rd Precinct police station. There were certainly things like that involved. Are you going to chalk all of that up to gun violence when your voters continue to violate the law and don't go to prison for it? I'm just curious about that. Maybe you can reach out and get back to us on that. The other part of this is obviously what he's doing here is just trying to build false data, right? It's all about data, because you'll hear right here. We'll let it play a little bit more, and we'll hear some false numbers.
So I encourage those insurance companies to get your lawyers if that's what you want to do and not provide this data. But I can tell you this thing is rock solid, and you're going to provide it. and we're going to do the research on it, and we're going to have more evidence exactly to make the case. And we're going to establish a statewide safety council. This is an all-or-government approach. Those who want to talk about one thing, the job of governor involves multitasking on many fronts. And you damn sure don't get to drive around and not talk about dead children and things. To be very clear, there is one person stopping us from having a vote in the House of Representatives right now to ban assault weapons, which in recent polling showed 70% of Minnesotans support, 78% in the suburbs strongly support.
So there you have his fake numbers. That's what this stuff is all about. They're going to compile their own data that confirms their own narrative, and they're going to say things like 112% of voters in Minnesota support banning AR-15s. I mean, the 112. I mean, he's probably just talking about his voters, because they tend to find votes in really strange places, and that's the whole point. So they'll go, hey, we're going to win the suburbs by pushing an agenda of banning AR-15s. We're going to ban hundreds of different rifles, and we had some organization someplace that we control, some media outlet that is always attacking gun owners, is going to do some poll, and we're going to run around before the midterms and tell everybody that 90%, 78% of Minnesotans in the suburbs support an AR-15 ban. It's nonsense. These are fake numbers, and the whole point is to push their narrative. And have you ever heard such an angry governor in your life? I mean, the Dorr brothers, we work in Second Amendment politics in many states across the country, many of them controlled by Democrats, and I've never heard somebody rail on their own citizens the way Tim Walz does. I've never heard anything like it.
Only 18% of people are strongly opposed to doing this. So the Speaker of the House should not be standing with the 18%. She should be standing with the 70%. She should be standing with the parents and those are up here. She should be standing with law enforcement who knows this is the right thing we should do. And we in Minnesota are going.
So he's cussing out the Speaker of the House, Lisa Dameth, for standing with the 18%. First of all, his 18% figure is an absolute lie. Second of all, she's standing with the Constitution of the United States, right? Far be it from Minnesota gun rights to give any props to rhino politicians who don't do their jobs, but Lisa Dameth is not one of those people. Speaker Dameth, in fact, stopped all of the gun control legislation, did not hold a vote on any of it. And then when Tim Walz wanted to use the Minneapolis school shooting by one of his trans converts to pass more gun control to bolster his reelection chances, she said no. She said no, because she knows what we know. This doesn't save lives. This doesn't save lives. She knows that. And then she did what Paul Kozelka and Kurt Doubt refused to do. For all the years they controlled the legislature, she put stand your ground law on the floor of the House and forced a vote on it. Didn't have the votes to get it through, but it's more than Paul Kozelka did in 4 years controlling the Minnesota Senate. So Lisa Dameth stood on business and stopped Tim Walz's agenda, because she knows that disarming everyday Minnesotans will cause more crime. It'll cause more death. It'll cause terrible things to happen. And she knows that that the Constitution matters when it comes to our right to keep and bear arms. Tim Walz has an inner city gang violence problem. That's what he's got. Created by them. They are soft on crime. They let criminals do whatever they want to. They let the Somalians steal $8 billion. They're fighting ICE. They're doing all of this stuff, but they don't care. They just want to take your guns away. And then Australia happens. They have like no Second Amendment rights, no rights to own firearms in Australia. It's like the worst country to own firearms in. Some dude comes in there with a bolt action rifle and shoots like 40 people. But we need gun control like Australia. That'll really help. My son, my 9-year-old son with a 22 rifle could have stopped that guy. Anybody there could have stopped that person. Because he just had a bolt action rifle. But no, they disarmed all the people, and then all the people are sitting ducks. We will not allow that to happen in Minnesota. We will not allow this to happen. And even if you pass legislation, Tim Walz, we will give you none of our guns. It'll never happen. It'll never happen. Guys, we're going to be fighting this tooth and nail. This is clearly an issue that Tim Walz is trying to ride on into the 26 midterms. So we're going to be hearing a lot more about guns, gun control, and his agenda to disarm us. Minnesota Gun Rights is going to do what we always do. We're going to expose these politicians. We're going to oppose them in the legislative session. We're going to make sure that Republicans in the House don't cave. And we're going to expose every gun grabber in a swing district who voted for gun control. That's how this works. In fact, it's the only way this works. All of this other stuff, all these press conferences and executive orders and wandering around the state capitol, all of that stuff is totally superfluous compared to the actual winning program that Minnesota Gun Rights operates in, which is opposition moving on to exposing these people, and then gun owners get the choice when they go to the polls if they want a gun grabber, somebody who attacks their Second Amendment, or if they want a champion of the Second Amendment to go into office. That's how this works. If you like that, if you want to be a part of that, please join the Minnesota Gun Rights Army. Go to joinmgr.com. Go to the Minnesota Gun Rights website, minnesotagunrights.org. There's links in this video. Join up with us. Help us fight back. If you're sending all of your money to the NRA, they don't do shit in Minnesota, and they haven't for a very, very long time. They're happy to take your money, and they'll send it to some other state, or they'll spend it on salary over in Virginia or Texas or wherever they moved off to these days, New York, where they were. They'll do all of that, but Minnesota Gun Rights and our massive army of members and supporters are the ones fighting this entire agenda. We always have been, and we always will be. We need to ram this down Tim Walz's throat. We need to fight back with everything we have, and we need to give them no quarter and have a totally no compromise attitude. The moment you start going, well, if we give them like a safe storage law, if we let them like lock our guns up, maybe they won't do an AR-15 ban. If you start doing that stuff, we're going to lose. Minnesota Gun Rights does not operate that way. That's how we have stopped gun control for many years. The moment you start doing deals with the left is the moment we lose everything. So if you agree, guys, like us, join up with us. I like us. I like you guys. Join Minnesota Gun Rights. Again, there's links on this video. Share this everywhere. We got KSTP, and you got Star Tribune, and you got Care 11. They're all out there pushing the leftist narrative. We need to push this correct, constitutional, public safety, freedom narrative. And that's what this video is all about. So share it, guys. We'll talk again very soon.